Now this question came in 2008. It says that an insulated container of gas has two chambers separated by an insulating partition. One of the chambers has volume V1 and contains ideal gas at pressure P1 and temperature T1. The other chamber has volume V2 and contains ideal gas at pressure P2 and temperature T2. So let us see what it is saying, that this was basically a chamber, and it was having one partition. It was having pressure P1, temperature T1 and volume V1. It was having pressure P2, temperature volume V2 and temperature T2. Now this partition is removed without doing any work. That means delta W is 0. Neither it is given that some heat is supplied. That means delta Q is also 0 because it is an insulated chamber, right? It is an insulated container. That means delta Q will also be 0. Now we know that delta U is equals to delta Q minus delta W. Now both of them are 0. That means delta U should also be 0, right? It is asking what is the final temperature of the gas. So that means initially what was the internal energy? Delta U1 plus delta U2, right? So delta U1 was what? N1 CV into T1, right? Delta U2 was N2 CV T2, and finally delta F final will be what? N1 plus L2, because total moles will be added, CV into T, where T is the final temperature. So that means the sum of these two should be equal to delta UF. That means N1 plus N2 into CV into T, this should be equal to N1 CV T1 plus N2 CV T2, right? So CV I can cancel out from both the equations. Now I do not know the value of N1. Now over here what will be the value of N1? We were given P1, T1, V1, right? P1, T1, V1. So that means N1 will be equal to what? P1, V1 divided by R, T1, right? And what will be N2? N2 will be equal to P2, V2 divided by R, T2, right? So that means T can be given as N1, T1 plus N2, T2 divided by of N1 plus N2. Or I can now substitute the values of N1 and N2 in this equation. So what will be that? P1 V1 by R, because T1 and T1 will cancel out, plus P2 V2 by R divided by N1 plus N2, which is P1 V1 by R T1 plus P2 V2 by R T2, right? So I can write it as P1 V1 plus P2 V2 in the numerator, right, divided by of P1 V1 T2 plus P2 V2 T1 into T1 T2, right? So this should be the answer basically. So that means option A is correct.